fraction equations. So when an equation has fractions, we're going to clear, as in get rid of, the fractions by multiplying each term by the least common denominator. After multiplying, we can reduce to remove their fractions. So let's go ahead and look at the first example. So example 1, we're going to solve for x in the equation below. So notice we have 1/8 x minus 2/4, which is equal to 1/2. So when we look at our fractions, right, notice we have an 8, a 4, and a 2. So the least common denominator, right, between all of them, right, would be 8, right? Because if we look at, right, multiples, essentially, right, 2, it's 2, 4, 6, 8. 4 is going to be 4, 8, and 8 is just 8, and then you can go on. So the least common, right, multiple, which would give us the least common denominator, will be this 8. So what we're going to do is multiply each term by 8. So now when we multiply each term by the least common denominator, right, the LCD, we're going to clear the fraction this way. So 8 and 8, right, 8 over 8 is just going to become 1, right? Now 8 and 4, well, this would become 1, right, and this would become 2, because 8 divided by 4 would be 2, right? And then 8 and 2, well, this would be 1, this would become a 4. So when we look at this, we're multiplying 1 times 1. We're going to multiply this 2 times 2, and then on this side, we'll show it as 1 times 4. So let's go ahead and do that. So 1 times 1, well, that's just 1x. Now minus 2 times 2, well, that would be 4. And then that's equal to 1 times 4, and that's 4. So now this is something we've kind of seen before, right? We just need to go ahead and get this variable by itself. So we're going to go ahead and add 4 to both sides, right? Because it gets rid of it on the left-hand side. We can just bring down the 1x. 4 plus 4, well, that's 8. Now 1x is equal to 8, which means, right, just x is equal to 8, right? Because this is understood, this x, that there's a 1 in front of it, as in the coefficient. So we can just go ahead and just remove it if we wanted to and say x is equal to 8. Now let's go ahead and look at the next example. So example 2. The temperature in a town is 58 degrees and rising 5/6 degrees Fahrenheit every hour. In another town, the temperature is 64 degrees, falling 2/3 Fahrenheit every hour. So in how many hours will the temperatures in both towns be the same? So let's go ahead and rewrite this. We have 58 plus 5 over 6x, which is equal to, right, 64 minus 2/3 x. So we look at the fractions, right? We notice we have a 6 and a 3. So what would be our least common denominator? Well, it would be 6, right? Because, right, the least common multiple between them would be 6. So that would give us our least common denominator. So if we can go ahead and just multiply each term by 6. So notice we only have to, right, clear the fraction, so we can reduce those real quick before we go ahead and start multiplying. So we have 6 and 6, well, that would just each equal 1 then, because 6 divided by 6 is just 1. Now 6 and this 3, right, this would become a 2 and this would become a 1, because 6 divided by 3 is 2. So now we have, right, reduced our fractions in terms of by multiplying them, right? We cleared our fractions, so now we can just go ahead and multiply what's left. Make sure that this is clear. So now let's go ahead and do that. So we have 6 times 58. Well, we can get our calculators out. 6 times 58, and we get 348. Plus 5 times 1, well, that's just 5, and then that's x. So now we have 64 times x, 384, and then we have minus 2 times 2, so that's 4, and we still have this x here. So notice we have variable on both sides. So let's get it to one side first. So I'm going to go ahead and add 4x on both sides. So then our x's stay positive. So that just becomes a 0. Let's just drop down 384 on the right hand side. 5x plus 4x, well that would be 9x. And then we have 348. Then our next step would be to subtract 348 on both sides. This way we can write the variable by itself, and that's why we're doing that. So we're getting closer, so that just becomes 0. So now we have 9x is equal to 384 minus 348, because we can just do this on the calculator, and we get 36. Then how do we get the variable by itself? Well, we can just go ahead and divide by 9 on both sides. So x then becomes 36 divided by 9, which would be 4. And if you aren't sure, just go ahead and use the calculator. So that's 4, and that would be our solution.